What's up, family? Pray everybody's still doing well and having a blessed day. While I was sitting in the truck, I want to respond back, excuse me, to you, producer man. You see my title: Old producers versus the new school producers. And I don't want nobody to take what I'm about to say in this video the wrong way. And to my normal listeners, this video may be boring to you because it's about music and producing. And I know some of the new school gonna be offended by this. I love your email, brother, because you were saying, in my opinion, now versus back then when I was coming up, others was coming up, the way technology had really made musicians lazy. I agree. See, when I was coming up, we had to really play. And that's what separated me from a lot of cats that was producing, because I knew the keyboard back and forth. You ask me about my music right now, why it's like it is and it sounds so live, because it is live. I always like liveness. One thing I can't stand is a piano that play itself. You go push a button. I don't like that kind of stuff, just me personally. See, I grew up on an old school piano. I love a Baby Grand. I grew up on a Fender Rhodes 88. Some of you new musicians, I know y'all don't know what that is. We call that the old Ray Charles. My old man kept the Fender Rhodes. We call it the Fender Bender. And my other partner had a 73 around the corner, 73. And we saw the reel coming up. Then reel to reel went away, and that took over. DAT, digital audio taping, or tracking, some may say. Then you had 4-tracks came out. That stuff took a long time, man. See, when I was producing back then, I was sequencing. I don't even know if they even make Ensoniq keyboards anymore. I think they all discontinued, if I'm not mistaken, but Ensoniq was one of the easiest workstations to work when you got familiar with it. You couldn't just cut that piano on, that keyboard on, and play it. It took a 3.5 disc, floppy disk. And if you got any kind of dust on that disc, you could lose your sounds like that. It wasn't like you just cut on the keyboard now and all the sounds is there. You had to have an operating system disc just to play that keyboard. And I would make all my sequences, just say sequence 1 is the intro, 2 gonna be the main part, 3 gonna be the bridge, 4 gonna be going toward the ending. I may have 4 or 5 sequences, and then I put it in song mode, and I went one by every instrument, which took up a lot of time. Versus nowadays, you can just hold down the key. And I'm not saying that to discredit the new school and take away from it, but back then versus now, it was way more harder to produce. We spent a whole lot of time, man, especially when I was making full songs, getting in them studios, man, or even in my own room, just sharing, coming up with the concept, taking long and long and long. When you came up like I did, you saw the old TR-808s, like I say, the Fender Rhodes, and I learned how to play on a B3 organ also. Little bitty dude, man, just jumping on that organ. I wanted to learn the organ. That's why when I produce my own stuff, that's me producing. I'm singing, I'm writing the lyrics, I'm playing. If I couldn't find a bass player, I play the bass line through the keyboard. The Rhodes, the piano, the strings. I love the real saxophone. I love the real lead guitar. I love liveness. So now everything is so. Technology has truly handicapped a lot of musicians. And see, some musicians gonna get mad at this because you can't help what era you was born in. I couldn't help what era I was born in. But I'm trying my best to say this out of love. I think about one of my favorites was Roger Troutman of Roger and Zapp. Of course, his brother killed him, but I look at the way Roger worked that talk box, or some may call it voice box, tube in your mouth. You got to play everything you singing. DJ Quick know how to work the hell out of it. Stevie Wonder know how to work it. It wasn't a whole lot of people that could work that voice box like that. Roger mastered that, man. Whether he was on the guitar or the keyboard, he mastered that thing. You hear it in Computer Love, you know, More Bounce to the End, a lot of his songs, and he was popular for that. Now, you got so many things to make it easy where you don't even need to tube no more, you know. And you think it's real easy to just put that thing in your mouth back then, and you drooling trying to sing everything that you're hitting with the notes. I remember when I first tried it, it was very difficult. Very difficult. And that take practice. But now everything is built in the keyboard. Look at auto-tune now. You know, most of these R&B singers and rappers, they love the auto-tune. You know, coming up, man, you had to learn the hard way. You took them old records, just like Dr. Dre used to do. And, but I think you said in your email you was born in 71, 72. See, if you were born any time back then, you 40, 50 and up, then you know how producing done changed. Now you got Pro Tools, you know, the Garage Band, you got all these different different workstations, systems now, DAW I meant to say. And it's very easy now. Because now you just pretty much copy and paste everything. But like I say, back then, man, it took me a long time to do a lot of certain songs, especially when somebody would come to me and hum to me the way they want the song to go. I would always start with the drum beat. And that song you asked me about the one I did for my wife, it's called Mr. Right. That's actually some other lady singing. My wife, now my wife can't sing like that. And what I did was build the whole song around the vocal. There was no music. So I went in the room and just listened at it back and forth, back and forth. And then the key of F, I just played around with it. And next thing I know, that was the concept, that was the song. And then the other song you asked me about was the single I did called All Right, around when the pandemic hit. Actually, my little boy was sitting in the front room, little Jay, and we was just sitting there playing around saying, all right, with the pandemic, it's going to be all right. And then he said, all right, it will be all right. Wait a minute. When we got the keyboard, we started playing around with it, made a song out of it. I credited that song to my little boy. And then all of us started singing it, me, him, and Didi. You know, we just started singing all right and made a song out of it. And music is so beautiful, but it's also depend on who the artist is. You know, it's a lot of spirits behind these artists that's drinking and getting high and everything. You have to be very careful what you listen to. And I always want my music to be different than everybody else's. I want it to be easy to listen. I want you to be able to ride out of town, you know, just let it play. Don't even have to hit fast forward to the next song. Just let it play, let it be relaxing. Not a whole lot of words in my songs. I do have some songs with lyrics in it, but the majority of it is just music, you know, because that's what I do in my spare time. I love to just, when I'm working, when I'm cleaning, easy music, just easy listening, you know. And them songs you talking about that I made, them songs is over 20-something years old, you know. And I wish I would have had the technology like they got back then. You can tell by my old music versus my new music how old the equipment was, you know. And I'm talking about old, man. I even had an MR76. But it was one keyboard I wish I would have never got rid of, and that was that Roland D50. I liked the Roland D70, but the D50 was the one, them sound cards. That D50 had some beautiful, still do. I don't know too many people that got one. Everybody I know got rid of it and they say the same thing. I should have kept my D50. But see, now you got the motifs, the chrome, and I love that chrome. But if I would have had keyboards like that back then, my sound would have been fatter. But we had to go with what we had back then, you know. That's why we would take those old records, you know, listen, let them get a concept off of records. Me personally, I would always just hear music in my head. If it's 4 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, I get up out the bed, I go lay it down. If I don't lay down the whole thing, I'm gonna lay down the concept so I won't forget it. And that's how I would always make my music, you know. So yeah, it's a lot of dynamic new producers, you know, who are still considered old school new producers because they know how to, you know, I can't hate on the technology. I'm a congratulator, not a hater. I can't hate on what they doing and the simple fact that they had what we didn't have, you know. Because when you was laying down things on a 4-track, a DAT, a reel to reel, and back then they had what's the old school one, man? That old the one that was in the car and in the house. I came my way before the cassette tape. My mind went blank. I can't think of the name of it. Oh man, it was very popular back then, but all this stuff discontinued. Just like the VCR went away. Just like CD players have pretty much went away. So everything now is all digital. And we worked hard, man, to get our sound back. I get it right back then, man. And my biggest problem also is I'm my own biggest critic, and that's a good thing. And it's a bad thing because it's hard for me to release an album because every time I listen to it, I'm going to find fault in it. And I have to realize, just leave it alone. I know some of y'all know what I'm talking about if you're in that music field. You'll spend hours and hours in that room, and then the next day you're going to hear something totally different. I don't like that. Take that piano out right there. Bring the rolls up right there. I don't like it. I don't even like the track at all. That's what you battle with as a producer, man. There are so many producers that got so much music stored up, and it's brilliant, but it ain't brilliant. It ain't brilliant to the artist hardly no more at that moment because they tired of it and they move on to another track. Then somebody else come here and be like, man, how much for that? You know, so it is what it is, man. And to answer your other question, no, I quit producing for people a long time ago. I've been done with that, man, because people will waste your time, not everybody. And then a lot of people they're not serious. They'll start and they'll stop. And that's what made me leave a lot of them rappers alone back then. They would start, get locked up, don't want to pay you nothing. Man, look out for me. They always talking about how they ain't got no money to pay you, but they always got money to go get weed and get their drink and get high and they habits and run women and all that stuff. So that stuff got old on me, man. And most of them you're gonna be around gonna be you kinfolks, the ones that's close homeboys to you, and they gonna be like, man, let's go and get that track going. And then when you move on, some of them getting mad at you, or you go around somebody that's paying you. You know, like the Bible say, your gift make room for you. And there are so many people don't understand that, and kinfolk sure don't understand it. They always want something for free. And as long as you're doing everything for free, you'll never get what you need. You'll never get it. So on that note, man, you know, shout out to all the producers, singers, musicians. Oh, let me make this point before I end this video. Everybody, I'm thinking about that part of your email about studio musicians. Everybody's not a studio musician. I trained myself to be a studio musician because when I was hanging with Albert, Fantastic Voices of Harmony, Bobo Said West, T. Lee, all of them dynamic musicians, man. For a while, I was the only keyboard player. So when I laid the tracks, I always left spots. Leave space, let me say it like that. When I lay a track, even to this day, I'm thinking about the bass player, the lead guitar player, the strings, the organ. You don't want to overdo it, and everybody can't go in the studio and be like that. Another thing to point out, you don't never go to the studio to practice. You go to the studio to put it down. Many people make the mistake by going in there with the engineer, already got their block set for certain hours, and then they just wasting time. engineer gonna be like, you know, you owe me this, but you also owe me this, man. You stayed 3-4 more hours later than what you're supposed to. And I've seen fights, altercations break out behind that. So I'm just giving you some things to look out for and do. And most of the time now, me personally, I don't know too many people that go to the studios no more because now everybody got a studio in their home. They are the engineer. They are the producer. They doing it. They cutting out the studios. They cutting out the record labels. And I can't blame people for that because I do it myself. You save a whole lot of time, money, and headache by doing it yourself. And the only thing gonna stop yourself is yourself. I'm gone on that. Have a blessed day.